Hello, this is Chris Cooper and a big welcome to the Business Elevation Show. Delighted to be back with you again. Another fantastic week with another great guest, Daniel Wood. We're going to be talking today about inner growth and outer success and lots of lessons from Daniel and inspiration and a great framework for success. Daniel's the founder of the Swedish Wealth Institute, so we're heading to Sweden today as well, which is exciting. On last week's show, we had Michael Brandt Di Maria, and had some great feedback on that show. We talked about burnout to contribution, The Way of Twilight, which is actually a movie which got lots of nominations and awards. Michael's an absolutely fascinating character. He used to work with people young people going through all sorts of trauma, and himself got very close with his own mental health to complete sort of breakdown. And he's rebuilt his life and to really support and help people who are going through that twilight zone. He's also a musician with 250 million downloads for his music and 4 Grammy nominations. So I would say that one of the things I loved about the conversation last week was just experiencing Michael, who, with his musical ability and presence, is able just to zone in and focus in deeply on every word. We had an incredible connection last week, and I really was impressed by his presence. So if you get the opportunity, do check out that interview. We're now episode 633, so we've done a few of these shows before, and the show is very much focused on today around how do we elevate ourselves, how do we elevate our thinking, and through our work, whatever that is, maybe through our businesses or through our leadership, what we also do is we contribute to good, because good matters. There's a lot going on in the world right now, a lot of people feeling very, very unsettled with what's going on with the behaviour of our global leadership. And actually, what's really important is that good people, I think good, kind people, get together to make a difference. This week I was at a charity that I'm an ambassador for called Hopeful, that is serving 5,000 meals a day on the border with Russia and Ukraine. And I met the most incredible, selfless people at a dinner in London. People, one of my people I met, Andrea, is a medic on the front line, supporting and working with 36 medics who are providing this, basically pulling people off the front line who are injured, people who need amputations, people who are in a terrible state. And she's been doing that for 3.5 years and suffering significantly, I think, herself with her own health for doing that. But it's just amazing. There's so many people out there who are just so inspiring. And this show is bringing you people who are inspiring, like Daniel today, who are out there doing really good work and contributing to good. That's what we care about. And that's what this show is designed to really highlight and inspire you to realise that there are actually many, many tens of thousands of people in their own way are contributing to improving the world and not a part of the system that's trying to take it backwards. So let's talk about the show today and why some people turn setbacks and how they do it into extraordinary success while others remain stuck. We're going to be talking about Daniel Wood, his story. He's the CEO and the co-founder of the Swedish Wealth Institute, which is a leading global movement aimed at democratising success. So what he's actually doing is he's giving everyday people direct access to world-class mentors. You'd pay a lot of money to see, Robert and Kim Kiyosaki or Les Brown or Jack Canfield or Brian Tracy. These people you'd go and see them at large summits and invest a lot of money to do that. Whereas Daniel is bringing those people to you online through large-scale summits and workshops, an incredible Swedish Wealth Institute podcast. So he's somebody who really kind of cares. He cares about making a difference. He cares through his work about doing good. He's talked to me before about a game that they've been sharing to help people around the globe who maybe not had access to any financial training to be able to elevate their awareness and their understanding of managing their own finances. So he really cares. So we're going to talk today about his journey. It's not been easy. When we're going through setting up businesses, setting up ventures, there's challenges, and the more you actually do and the more you put out there, the more challenges you get and the more obstacles you've got to overcome. So we'll be talking about those, and we'll be talking about Daniel's framework as well for success today. So a big welcome to Daniel Wood.
Oh, thank you so much, Chris. I really appreciate you having me on.
You're very welcome. Lovely to see you. It's always a pleasure spending time with you. So let's just start, Daniel, by helping our listeners to really understand what the work is that you do today. What is the Swedish Wealth Institute? What is its mission?
Well, I appreciated your intro. It really encapsulates a lot of it. And as you said, what we want to do is truly help democratize success, because I believe the biggest challenge right now that we're facing as a society is that the wealth gap keeps increasing, that the middle class is disappearing, and people are feeling helpless. People don't feel like they're in control over their life, and that often causes hate outside or fear, going off after others. So what we're trying to do is we realize that yes, the what has historically been the middle class is disappearing, right? Your normal jobs are getting automated. AI is changing things, but the top 1% in the world are getting richer and richer. And the reason why they do that is because they have a different set of information. They have different knowledge, different contacts, and a different way of building wealth than the rest of us learned in school. And that's what we're trying to do through these events. So we'll do 2-day summits, 4-day summits, where we bring in some of the top people in the world. We have, Wall Street veterans, we got experienced investors, entrepreneurs, business people who come on and basically share what have they done to become successful, what have they seen from helping and supporting others, and what's really working right now. And the goal is, as you say, to democratize success, make it achievable for everyone, and really create a new middle class who's maybe working in the same way as the top 1%, but maybe doesn't, you don't need to be a millionaire or even a billionaire. If you have enough to cover your expenses, that means you can travel, you can work with charity, you can, take care of your family, whatever your passion is. And that's the tools we're hoping to give people through these events with these amazing speakers.
Excellent. I'd just like to ask you, actually, from your perspective, what is success?
Oh, that is such a good question. And for me, I love the quote from it's not the Declaration of Independence, but the right of every human should be to the pursuit of happiness. And I think in the end, if you are happy with your life, you're successful. Now, you can break it down into its different parts, right? You can look at business success, you can look at health, you can look at your mission and charity, and all of those are parts of success. But in the end, if you're happy with your life, then no one can take away that happiness and the fact that you are a success. And for us, I mean, a lot of our events focus on the financial side of things, because historically we've seen, that's the biggest cause of divorces. That's one of the biggest causes of pain and depression. So we try to help people create the tools to create their financial life and take that control. But then outside of that, it's about, how do you find inner peace? How do you find friendships? How do you find, how do you find a purpose with your life? And in the end, that's what's truly going to make you successful or happy or whatever word you want to use.
That's really important. I think you define that, because we hear people do the top 1%. It sounds like actually they're better than everybody else, because
when I say that top 1%, that is definitely a financial metric that they've accumulated so much of the world's wealth in doing very specific things. And the cool thing is, if we emulate that, if we do those same things, we get those same results. And the difference is just the knowledge to do it. And that's what we're trying to democratize.
Excellent. So when you say you're putting on, I think over 500,000 people go through your events and podcasts and programs each year. So that's what you're trying to achieve with those people, is it? That to help them increase their happiness, and ideally, and linked to happiness often is a wealth that enables you to at least be comfortable.
Well, it's Tony Robbins says it very well with the pyramid of needs, right? The bottom step of that pyramid is security. And so if you don't feel secure, if you don't feel like, you have a roof over your head, you got food on the table, you can pay your bills, none of the other things really are that important. If you don't feel safe, then charity is a great idea, but you're kind of the one who needs charity. And you cannot give what you don't have. So if we can fix people's financial confidence first, then we can get into the other parts with a lot more ease.
Yeah, excellent. So before we go into, there's a practical framework that you teach. Let's go back a little bit to the beginning. I'd like to find out a bit about you and your journey and the experience that you've had. So what was life like growing up for you, and what do you think experiences shaped your thinking around what's important when it comes to success and opportunity?
Oh, it's a brilliant question. And I had a very good childhood. I got, great parents, lived in a great neighborhood. So overall, really well, especially up till sixth grade, I was very popular. And then we merged with another school, and I was not quick enough in choosing the cliques that were created. So I had a couple years of being bullied. And what was interesting though is I played baseball, which is not a huge sport in Sweden, but my team was on the other side of town. So I would take the train every day to go practice, and there I was very good. I was on the national team. I was, the captain. So I had these two very conflicting worlds where I was the guy in one place and well, the guy to be bullied in the other place. So I kind of and I do realize in many ways I still have that in me, that part where I am extremely confident, but also where I am I'm always looking at what do people think about me, and I think that's become one of my drivers to make sure that what we do really has that positive impact, and that it's a good experience for everyone, because I do want everyone to like me and like us as a company.
Yeah, yeah. So how do you deal with that when things do go wrong? Because they do.
Yeah, well, we were talking about that just before the call. I've become a true perfectionist, and I think I don't know how much that is deeply rooted in those childhood, experiences, and how much of that is really just the passion for what we're doing and the experience we want to create and the growth we could have. But yeah, today we were running, or we are running an event Thursday through Sunday, and it's a replay of the event we did about a month ago, which was super popular. It was so well, it was so requested that we said, all right, we'll run a replay of it. Like, we'll take the recording and play it. And because of the way Zoom works, our recordings are too long. So we have to cut it down into 2-hour segments to cover the day. And one of those recordings had lost its audio today. And so we had to, luckily I was available. I'm usually not a part of those because they've already been recorded, but I was available so I could kind of jump on, turn on my camera, say, sorry guys, we're here. Like, we're fixing it. It's fine. We're still real people, even though all this looks a little weird now with us jumping between videos. And we were able to salvage it, and the crowd was brilliant. I mean, it wasn't barely a single person who logged off, even with the chaos we put them through. Uh, but yeah, stuff like that. It hurts me to my core, because I see how great an impact we can have, and anything that detracts from that is always so sad when we don't get it right.
Yeah, there's sometimes it's nice, isn't it, when things do go wrong and it shows your vulnerability, when you can be authentic with people and say, oh, it's gone wrong, we're sorting it out. We care about you.
This is why I love you, Chris. You're so positive. I'm just looking at it going, all right, we got to create new SOPs. This is not going to happen again. How do we fix it? How do we optimize it? But yeah, I mean, the community we have is absolutely amazing. They're incredibly forgiving. So it's probably me that is the hardest on me and the team.
Yeah.
And I try not to let them see how much pain they put me through when we go through these things. But Yeah, we're improving every day. That's one of our values is to become 1% better every day. And we understand that there is no thing as perfection. It's something we can consistently strive for. And just as long as we're getting better every day, we're at least moving in the right direction.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So yeah, 1% every day is interesting. How can you measure that?
Well, it's one of those things where if everyone in the company is able, because a lot of what we do is very systemized, right? The process of setting up an event is very similar, and it's a lot of the same kind of templates and parts to it. So if every day everyone in the team finds something in our processes or SOPs or their own work or time management that they can do a little bit better, and if it's one of our templates that they make a little better, that's now codified into our company forever. So the goal really is 1% is really just an arbitrary number, right? Sometimes you'll make a big change and we got 10% better that day. Sometimes you make a small one, it might be 0.1. But the fact is, if everyone in the team finds something that they can improve every day, then we as a business will have grown by 1% that day.
I like it. Now, just before us, we should sort of talk about this. Some people might be a little bit confused because you talked a little bit there about growing up in Sweden, playing baseball when at one side of the city where you were this baseball star, and then at school getting bullied at the same time, which must have been really challenging. But you've got an American accent.
Yeah, my dad's from San Francisco, so I am born and raised in Stockholm, Sweden, but my dad's from San Francisco, so we spoke, at the dinner table and everything, and I was able to kind of get his accent.
Yeah, oh, okay, that's interesting. Yeah, so you picked it up that way. Yeah, not from living in the States.
Yeah, it was always fun when friends came over and, the chaos around our dinner table with, I talked to my dad in English. I turned to my mom and speak Swedish. I turned to my brother and speak in whichever language I had spoken in last is what we would continue to go through until we got stuck on the vocabulary and then we would shift. And, my four friends would sit there going like, what is going on? Like, what are you guys talking about? And yeah, it was a good learning to get bilingual practice.
Absolutely, because you don't, presumably you speak fluent Swedish, but you speak as an American, really.
Well, it's the same for my kids. I speak
fluent.
English with them as well. So they, they'll speak Swedish at school and then they come home and they speak English with each other, which is cool.
That's really cool. Excellent. So, this isn't the Swedish Wealth Institute, and the work you're doing now isn't what you've always done, is it? You had a property business and
the journey started. The Swedish Wealth Institute really came because of the challenges we had in real estate. So what happened was Sweden is not a very good market to invest in property. But it started with me reading the book Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, which is really cool that he's one of our partners and speakers now, which, kind of full circle there. And I've interviewed him on the podcast, which was absolutely amazing. Well, what happened was a British company came to Sweden to teach us how to invest in real estate in the UK. And what happened, their promise was that they would give us what they called a business in a box. They would give us all the contacts, the solicitors, the builders, the estate agents, everyone you needed to do successful property. And so we jumped in, we signed up for their mentorship program. We just whatever they said, they said jump, we asked how high, right? And we did, I think in the first year, I think we did about 20 properties across the UK. And we did it with these teams that we'd been recommended and who we therefore trusted. But we were in a different country, so it was very hard to keep eyes on them. And, we were getting our build reports, we were getting our rental reports, but it turned out a lot of these reports were faked. And it took a couple years for the whole truth to come out. I mean, real estate is very slow, and these they were very good at what they did. But in the end, it turned out we'd been ripped off for about £400,000.
Oh my word.
Yeah, and that wasn't money I had myself. That was because, again, one of the things they taught us was go out and raise capital from people, and they showed us, basically said, here's a marketing pack with all the information, because we didn't have experience, but we had this amazing team with experience. So that was the pitch: is, hey guys, let's all get together and invest with these amazing people. And in the end, I had to call all of our contacts back, and all of our investors back, and say, yeah, it didn't go according to plan. We own some buildings, but they're not what we thought they were. We're not where we thought we'd be. And yeah, I just, I had to apologize. I'd lost the investment they had given us. And I'll never forget the call I got about a year later, because we were struggling to try to figure it out and figure out how to fix things. It took about a year to lose it all. We spent a year trying to fix it. And then I get a call from our accountant who says, Daniel, it's time to bankrupt your company. And now we're obviously speaking to people in America, which bankruptcy isn't as big a deal as it is in Sweden. In Sweden, if you go bankrupt, it basically means your entrepreneurial journey is over. You're never going to get credit. You're never going to get, you're barely going to be able to open a bank account for a company in the future. And so I'm freaking out. I say, Michael, well, what does this mean? And he says, well, what we're going to do is we're going to sell off the real estate you have. We'll pay down your creditors as much as we can. Then we'll write off the rest. We'll start a new company, and you can begin again with everything you've learned in the last couple of years. And I was like, wait, what? What do you mean start again? It's over. He's like, no. We'll set up a new company, and you just go again. And obviously I was thrilled, right? It was, I was, why didn't you tell me this a year ago? I've been, struggling for a year to figure things out. Why didn't you, why let me go through that? And he said, well, now's the time. But I finally asked a question before we pressed the go button that really changed the trajectory of my life again. And I asked, what will happen to my investors? And he said, well, they invested in failed projects, so they will have lost most of their investment. And I said, well, Michael, they didn't invest in failed projects. They invested in me. So if I'm going to start over fresh, they got to come with me. And he said, well, those are your major creditors. So why, if you're going to bring them with you, you might as well not bankrupt your company. I said, great. We're not going to bankrupt the company. And this started this whole journey of trying to figure out, how do we fix this? And obviously it was really hard. We had no idea how to do it. And we'd gathered together all these other people in Sweden that had gone through this education with this British company. And by this time, we were about 200 of us. And so we would meet up like monthly and try to help each other. But it was, it was the blind leading the blind, right? It was how do we figure this out when we don't actually know anything? But I realized this was an amazing community for coaches and mentors and speakers, because this was 200 people who were committed to their future, committed to their growth, and had invested heavily in their own development. And that was what became the Swedish Wealth Institute. We started inviting speakers. It was never planned to be commercial, but we started inviting in speakers to come and teach the community. And the idea was the speaker would get access to all these potential students. The community would get to learn what we needed to know to become successful. And our strategy was that after the event was over, we would take the speaker out to dinner and get some free coaching and maybe figure out our real estate business. And we were able to, over time, it turned into its own company. And over time, it's become my passion. I'm selling my final piece of real estate in the UK now, and all my entire focus is the Swedish Wealth Institute. That's my passion. So, in a way, obviously, it would have been great if the real estate investments had gone well. I mean, I would be lying on a beach in Bali or something now, but I wouldn't be impacting anyone else's life. And because of those setbacks, I'm living my passion now, and it's been a tough journey, but here we are, and it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah. It must be it must be very difficult when you hit rock bottom like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm too young to have all this white in my beard that I do, so it's definitely was a challenge, but we've thanks to the help really of Kim Kiyosaki, was the one who helped us turn the business around.
And how did she help you do that? What was her advice to you?
Well, this is a bit of a story behind it as well. If
Got about
I know we
three
got
minutes.
3 minutes, so I'll give you that version. So it started when I got a call. We'd run the company for about a year. I got a call from the partners to Tony Robbins for the European market. And I didn't know who Tony was. They called me up and said, "Do you want to be the partner for the Swedish market? We've heard you do very well." And I was like, "Yeah, sure. We're always looking for partners." And I could hear them, hear their emotion, be like, "Oh my God, this idiot doesn't realize I just gave him his business here." Right. So
Mm.
they're like, "How about you let one of our speakers sell some tickets to Tony? Then we fly you over and you can see him in London and you'll realize what this is." And obviously I did. It was absolutely amazing. 10,000 people in the room. And I was like, "Oh, so this is what this industry could be. Like, this is what our little 200 people community could be." And it opened my eyes. But what was cool about it is I was introduced to the other promoters in Europe, the big partners. And it was after my second year of working with the partners there to Tony and Tony Robbins events, that one of them, Roland, reached out and said, "Hey, I'm bringing Kim Kiyosaki on a European tour. Would you like her to come to Sweden?" And I said, "Yes, very much." And I was able to organize it. So she actually stayed 4 days in Sweden because I said I'd cover the hotel for like the extra days of trip. And that gave us the chance to, take her out to town, show her around Stockholm, and really get to know her. And so I showed her our property portfolio. By now, I think it was about 4 or 5 years from us starting the business, right? We're 4 or 5 years of trying to fix this real estate mess we were in. And it took her all of 15 minutes to figure it out. She said, "Restructure that deal, restructure that debt, do 2 more deals like that, and your books are balanced." And that was it. Like, it took us years to actually implement that, but
Yeah.
I'd spent 5 years with no plan, no idea how to fix it. It took her 15 minutes to give me a light at the end of the tunnel, which was what proved to me the difference between a bad mentor and a real good mentor.
Which shows, demonstrate what you're doing is you're bringing some of these mentors to so my Apple Watch decided to start talking. You're bringing some of these mentors, giving people access to them, to their wisdom.
Well, that's when really I understood how important the Swedish Wealth Institute could be, when I saw that difference. And that's what we try to do now. We want to introduce people to the right mentor at the right time for them to take the next step on their journey.
Excellent, yeah. Right, well, on that note, we've talked about Daniel's journey and a little bit about the Swedish Institute and the challenges that he faced when when the business suddenly started to struggle and they've been taken for a property ride, and he's recovered from that. So what is going on now is a lot of very significant events with a lot of these online with some of these amazing mentors. So through all of that learning, you've developed a process for success, haven't you?
Yeah, well, thanks to our speakers. It was truly now over the Christmas break. We gathered a bunch of these amazing. I mean, we've got the blessing to work with Robert Kiyosaki and Brian Tracy and Les Brown, Nick Vujicic, Jack Canfield, Dr. John D. Martini, John Assaraf, Janet Atwood, Marcy Shimoff, and on and on with these absolutely amazing speakers. And so we were able to gather a bunch of them virtually over the Christmas break here. And we sat down and we really looked at, all right, so what is the actual process to become great? What is the difference that makes the difference? And it was fun because there's all these people who have their own theories of, their own principles that they teach. And so we tried to put that into one model. And we did. It took a couple hours, but finally we kind of agreed on this timeless model. And then we wanted to check it against the real world. So we looked into, I think it's 72 research studies on what it takes to be successful, and found a few tweaks we needed to make, but overall it backed up what we'd found. And then we stress tested it by looking at historical figures, people, companies, nations, empires, and saw what did they do, And did they follow this process we've put together? What did they do differently? And then finally, we put it through, what would this do for your, average Joe? What would this do for a normal person? And finally, we landed this 7 steps to greatness process, which really, if you follow it, it's in theory very simple, but it's a process to go through. But if you do, you'll be able to achieve pretty much whatever it is you're after.
Great. So on that note, we're going to have a commercial break now. After the break, we'll talk about this 7-step process to greatness, as Daniel just defined it there, and see what we can learn from that. So maybe worthwhile if you're sitting quietly and listening to this, taking out a notebook or a piece of paper, and just making a little note of this. Although what we always do is we always produce a blog post on the chriscooper.co.uk website. So no doubt that will be in there next week. So we'll join you just after the break. We're back again with you in just a couple of minutes. Hi, this is Chris Cooper. I'm with Daniel Wood from the Swedish Wealth Institute, and we talked about Daniel's journey before the break, his entrepreneurial journey, and background, and now we're going to talk about this success framework or framework for greatness that Daniel was talking about. And the great thing about this is it has been done in conjunction, with people like Robert and Kim Kiyosaki and Les Brown and Jack Canfield and Brian, putting their thoughts together as well with Daniel. And he mentioned their 77 or 76 research studies. So this is something worthwhile really reflecting on. So Daniel, do you want to just very top line tell us about the steps, and then what we'll do is we'll nip into some of them in more detail.
Yeah, absolutely. So they're all very timeless. I think most people listening will kind of be able to very easily identify with these, and that's kind of the point. It's not about reinventing the wheel. It's about just doing the things that you need to do consistently. So the first step is that your inner world creates your outer world. So basically start with yourself, and that will start mirroring out to what's going on around you. The second step is about knowing where are you now and where is it you are going, really getting clarity on what it is you want to achieve, but also where are you starting from. The third step we call choose the right path. And we see step 2 and step 3 a little bit like a GPS, where the GPS needs to know 3 things to take you from wherever you're starting from to wherever you want to go. It needs to know where are you going, but also what vehicle are you going to take. So in this case, that would be, what is your path to greatness? Will that be by being an entrepreneur? Will it be an investor? Will it be as a consultant? Will it be working as an employee? Is it charity? Is it being an influencer, or health or sports, or what is your vehicle for where you want to go? The next step is called action is the name of the game, which obviously means you have to take action to be able to get results. But there is a depth to it where it's not just about running as quickly as you can. It's identifying what skills do you need, what processes do you need, what information do you need, what people do you need to surround yourself with, and taking action on the direct things that you actually need to achieve your goal. After that, we come into the bigger kind of parts. The number 5 is about multiplying yourself, which basically is getting leverage. Robert Kiyosaki obviously talks a lot about OPM, which is other people's money. So if you're an investor, you don't want to just be investing your own capital. You want to get more leverage than that. If you're an entrepreneur, he calls it OPT, which is other people's time, which is, building a team, getting leverage. But it can also be about distribution. If you look at your show, Chris, rather than just have this as a YouTube show or so, you're on Voice America. You're getting the leverage of their brand and distribution by leveraging that connection and that ability. So it's finding different ways to get more out of what you would be able to do yourself, basically multiplying yourself. Then this step 6 is probably the one that is hardest for entrepreneurs to follow, and I definitely include myself in this one, and that is let time do the heavy lifting. And I really, what really anchored this one for me was when I went back and reread the book Shoe Dog by Phil Knight about the founding of Nike. And as he started his company, they basically doubled their revenue every year. And they're this absolutely amazing company today, but they doubled their revenue every year. And if you look at the first 3 years, their total revenue for those 3 years was about $48,000. Because if you double, like their first year was 8, so doubling from essentially 0 is still very close to 0. So a company like Nike took decade to actually start building proper big momentum. And I think that's one of the things we as entrepreneurs have to remind ourselves of is, if you're growing, that's amazing, and that compounds over time. So sometimes you have to have that patience, or like with our value of 1% better every day, it can be so frustrating when like for me, when I'm finding these mistakes and things we should do better. But if we do get 1% better every day, this does disappear, and we get better. And sometimes patience is the key. Yeah. I'm still working on that one. And then the final one is to return wiser than before. So kind of when you've gone through the 7 steps, it's about getting feedback. Jack Canfield talks a lot about gathering feedback, gathering the data. It's both feedback from individuals, it's data from, your analytics in your company or your investments, and also about yourself, your internal work. Like now that you've gone through this cycle one time and you come back to step 1 and said, well, last time I asked myself about my inner world, this was the things I needed to work on. Now that I've looped around once, I've elevated myself one circle, what is now the biggest thing that I need to work on with myself to take the next step? And so it's this never-ending cycle of improvement.
Yeah, and is it a cycle? Because I wonder whether that inner world creates your outer world, whether we're also always working on it or need to always work on it.
Well, I was interviewing Seal Stanford here for the Seal's absolutely amazing for the Swedish Wealth Institute podcast, and she coaches Robert Kiyosaki and what's it called? Blair Singer.
Blair Singer, yeah.
So she works with, these absolutely amazing people, and both of them are in their mid to late 70s. And they're still every single day looking at ways to improve themselves. And as she said, like the moment you say, well, I've already grown enough, like I'm already there, I'm perfect now. Well, if you're not growing, you're dying. And so yes, but maybe you don't have to be that hard on yourself, and keep pointing out your weaknesses maybe every day, but it's a constant work on improvement, definitely.
I suppose that one of the key things, so in my work, I see this, and it's actually that willingness to be open to look inside yourself and actually be vulnerable and explore, rather than kind of lock up and think maybe try and present to the outside world you're the finished article, when actually inside you're not, and you probably know it. But so there's a vulnerability, is to be prepared to go and properly let go and explore.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about a lot this obviously in the past, and I think it's a journey I've really been on, especially here in the last year. And it's tough. It's not easy to go deep into these emotions and traumas and fears. And for that matter, it's as they say, the more you learn about something, the more you realize that you don't actually know a thing about it. And that's really been my entrepreneurial journey. It's like every time we expand to another level, I realize that it's a completely different game at this level, and I need to learn all these new things. Every time we take that growth step, I feel like, wow, now I have to implement these things that make us a real company. Uh, and every step up, you kind of you think you've come really far and you've done all these things, and then you come into that next game. And I had a meeting with a woman who worked at Microsoft and helped them with their data, uh, their their innovation. And I've always felt that we are really good at split testing and innovating, and we're moving so incredibly quickly. And then I sat down with her, and she explained that they ran over 4,000 tests a week.
Wow.
And I went, well, we're doing a few a month. I thought we were good. And it's like you
Yeah.
just learn there's another game at the next level. I mean, we're doing great for our industry. We're innovating rapidly and changing the industry, every 6 months. But there are other industries and other sizes that are just playing at a different level. And when you realize that, you see how much growth you can still do, which is exciting and also terrifying.
And it's exciting to realise that there are those level shifts, isn't it?
Yeah,
Something that
exactly.
we're both involved with the Elevation Collective community, and we're often talking about that next level, and 10x is
Yeah.
something we talk about. Actually, how do you shift what you're doing and expand it?
Yeah.
10 times over. That might not be revenue, but it might be
Well,
just
we were
moving to
able
that
to do
next
that
level.
last year, right? That
Yeah.
was a part of our journey last year was actually 10xing the revenue. And it changed so much. We were able to expand the team, and all of a sudden it creates these new problems. Now we have to be setting KPIs for everything. We need to
Yeah.
tie it to performance bonuses to keep people motivated. We need to, have SOPs for everything. We need to have a time management system, not just for the individual, but for the team. And it's a completely new set of problems.
Yeah. You've got to be a different leader to
Yeah,
do
exactly. And
that.
that becomes then my fear is, the company can't grow beyond my skill set really unless we bring in someone else to take over. And obviously as an entrepreneur, I never want that to happen. So now my job is to stay ahead of the growth curve of the company. And yeah, and it's not easy. We're growing really quickly, so I have to grow very, very rapidly now.
And do you know where you always want to go? Because that was the second step, wasn't it? Knowing where you are and where you want to go. Is that your responsibility in the business to have that vision as to where you're heading?
Yeah, and that's a really interesting question because one of my I'm a very good storyteller, and as a leader I can be very inspirational. And everyone listening is like, what, really? Uh, but as that type of a leader, I realized that I cannot I cannot paint too clear a picture of the future, because if I do, if I make the future a reality now, then the team will feel that it's a promise. And if
Yes.
we don't achieve it, there is disappointment. And this was a problem I did in the past. Rather than tie things to the team's performance and being very clear that, like, for us to hit this target, you guys need to do these things, I would more paint that just the force of our momentum would take us here. And then when we weren't achieving at that level, then that became a problem. And I've had to grow as a leader and kind of say, yes, I need to have a clarity of what we're going. I need to, see where are the cracks in the business. What can we do better? We just did two this spring here. We've done two really big improvements. One where we've brought in an affiliate manager to get us a new source of leads and clients, and I've brought on we're hiring a partner to sell sponsorships, which is a completely new source of revenue, and that just completely changes the business. And I need to keep growing my ability to see that helicopter view,
Yeah.
but also stay in and support the team in their growth. So yeah, it's been an absolute blast to sit with and grow, but also there's a heightened level of pressure.
Yes, yes. You started there talking about seeing the right path. One thing I've noticed in very visionary entrepreneurs sometimes is that they talk about the future, and you can sit with them and they explain the future as though it's a reality right now.
Yeah.
And there's actually quite a mismatch. And they sell this vision to other people as well, but it's actually where the business is heading, and
Yeah.
as opposed to where it actually is. And you've got that question: know where you are right now,
Yeah.
because
And I
sometimes
think it's
people get ahead of
important for the
themselves.
team to realize as if we're going to achieve this next step, and that's something I brought it down to too, as well. Like I could paint the next 20 steps in the past, and now I more talk about what is the next step. And because it's a lot more tangible, which does make it more exciting for the team. So it's actually more motivating than this 20 steps down the line vision. But also it becomes then very clear that, well, for us to take this next step, that means you guys need to take this next step. Like we don't get 10% better unless we all get 10% better. And that has made it a lot more tangible. And I think it's gotten the team to rally a lot more around making these improvements.
Yeah. So the next bit about action, that's really, there's a lot of action. There's a lot of operational action going on in your business now, but you've had to bring in these. Did you call them? I call them KPIs. You call them.
Yeah, exactly. So we have both the KPIs and we're tying that to performance
Performance.
bonuses. And so it's been really important to look at, again, it's not just about running quicker, right? It's about how do we run, where do we run, what tools do we need, what gear do we need? In many ways, it's like our mutual friend Derry ran the marathon des Sables,
Yeah.
where he ran I think what 4 marathons in a row across the Sahara Desert, and if he had just gotten up in the morning and tried to run across the Sahara Desert, that wouldn't have ended very well.
No.
So you have to know what are the tools I need, how do I prepare, how do I train, who do I need to have on my team to get me ready, and plan it all out. And that's a part of that action.
Yeah. So excellent. Yes. So yeah, my mind's gone elsewhere. I think Derry's just about forgiven me for introducing him to my good friend Neil Lawton, and them going on Everest together and getting lost in the Nepalese earthquake for 8 days. That was not one of my best introductions, but I think they're still
Well,
friends.
it's the core of all of his speeches now. So
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
you have given him his story now. So you get that.
Yeah, I was imagining I was so worried about them. They're up there cursing me.
Yeah, well, he got a good story out of it. We've
Yeah.
we've all heard that story more times than I can count.
That was interesting, the cause and effect from making introductions. So let's talk about multiplying then. So in the multiplying piece,
Yeah.
I guess that's replicating that service many times or finding other ways to leverage.
Yeah, so in many ways, it's not so much about multiplying your service directly, because in many ways that's just running quicker, right? That's back of the action. So if I use our business as an example, we run events, and so action could be doubling the number of events, and obviously that will cause our revenue to go up. But if we want to multiply ourselves, it's about how do we find ways to get other distribution channels, other ways to expand this quicker, and rather than just us running forward. And that's where, for example, now we've hired our affiliate manager, Kalinka, who's absolutely amazing. And what she's doing is she's building partnerships with people in this industry who are already promoting other people's offers and who have communities of their own, and who have partnerships, and they might be looking to monetize those, so we generate an income for them. But it might also be the fact that they're fans of our speakers and like, wow, all of these speakers are at the same event and I can give free tickets to my community. Of course I want to do that. That's amazing. Or they're more there might be more environmentally conscious. We donate for each person that claims a ticket to one of our events. We donate to Eden reforestation projects,
Right.
enough for them to reclaim 1 square meter of land and turn it back into a forest or a rainforest. And so there are many reasons why, but what we're looking at is right now we'll have about 20,000 people registered at each event. Our kind of market research shows that within 12 months, we could get about 10,000 additional registrations through an affiliate network,
Mm.
which we're building. And that would be a instant 50% growth on our business. And it's one of our issues now is we all of our expenses are upfront for marketing, right? We use different online marketing tools and we have to pay that upfront whilst our affiliates and partners get paid on the back end on profit. Now they get paid more, but it's on the back end. So that's in many ways it becomes free traffic for us. So that's a huge, huge difference and a leverage where we don't have to run more events. We don't actually have to do more. We just have to do the same thing we're doing and keep improving our core business. And then we're leveraging these other distribution channels and it increases our business by 50%. And that would be an example of multiplying yourself.
Excellent. So then when you're multiplying yourself through different methodologies, you're improving every day by 1%.
Yeah.
Then I guess over a period of time, you're going to see a significant shift, aren't you?
Exactly. And that's why you have to have that patience, right? That's
Yeah.
step 6, time, let time make the heavy lifting because, it takes a while to build up these new channels. It takes a while to build up these new partnerships and it takes a while for these 1% to compound and improve. But, yeah, as long as you stay diligent to it, as long as you're keeping your standards high and you're consistently working on that improvement, then hopefully that will start playing out over time as long as you can stay consistent. And that's where that time and patience comes in.
Yeah. Yeah. Important. So the final step was about returning wiser from the whole process.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do we always turn wiser, or is that a choice?
That is a good one. We're trying to be complimentary in these and inspiring in these, but yeah, I mean, through the journey, you might face new traumas, right? So one of these cycles, you might actually come back more hurt than you were before, and it might be, going back to basics on your development. Like I had a day yesterday where I was holding space for two different friends of mine who are going through really, really tough divorces. And, I was talking to them about it. And one of them, I was talking to his ex-wife as well. Well, becoming ex-wife as well. So I was kind of being a relationship support there on both sides, which was obviously really tough. And for them, they're all now kind of they're coming back to that step one and in a sense returning much wiser than before, but also returning with new pain and new things to work out on. So rather than going deeper this time, it's grabbing these new pains that are still on the surface and hopefully can be solved quicker than maybe some of the older stuff.
Fantastic. Well, it's been absolutely brilliant talking with you today. Did you have a final message you'd like to leave us with?
Ooh, well, I think as long as you, in many ways, if everyone here would focus on the first 4 steps, I think everything would solve itself. Focus on yourself. Know that you have the power to change your own life. You don't need anyone else to do it for you, and no one else is trying to hold you back. So if you focus on yourself, you'll be able to grow. And that starts with your inner work and then continues with realizing where is it I want to get to. So where am I now? Where do I want to go? And then how am I going to get there? And if you do that, you'll be fine.
Fantastic. Hey, been brilliant talking to you. So if people want to find out more, go to the SwedishWealthInstitute.com. How do people, if they want to come on one of these programs, because they can, can't they?
Yeah, from the website, you have the events tab. So you just go to SwedishWealthInstitute.com/events. You can sign up. We'll happily give everyone here a free ticket. They can find them on our event page. And check out the podcast, the Swedish Wealth Institute Podcast.
Thank you, Daniel. Been absolutely brilliant. Wonderful talking to you, and that
Right back at you.
Great story, great experience. but also fascinating and really helpful process there. Really, really practical for people, I think. So, thank you very much. On next week's show, we have Debbie Jenkins. Debbie's an expert at helping people create books and literature around doing good in the world, and we'll be talking with her next week. They've got a fascinating book that they're evolving as well, which is going to be interesting. I think I'm getting interviewed for shortly. So if you've got any questions or comments, come back to me. Drop me an email at chris@chriscooper.co.uk. Also, we have a new ebook actually. If you go into the Chris Cooper site, you'll find under the Elevation Collective section a drop down bar, and there's an ebook, a guide around thriving and doing good in the world today. So you're welcome, with my compliments, to download that, and that's based upon the wisdom of people like Daniel in the Elevation Collective community, and now over 600 interviews. It's talking about how do you thrive and evolve, what the kind of mindsets and principles today to be able to also do good through your work. So that's available and complimentary to you. So take care, everybody.